what about, like, their free will? Not on your watch. And as you're psychologically violating them, let them feel your wrath with a ton of unchecked anger. What'll that do? It's just part of good communication that'll help them understand the beneficial point you're trying to make. If you greet them with enough emotional outrage, they'll most likely apologize and change their ways to meet your demands right away.
What's going on, everyone? Tusk Kenny here today, and we'll be reacting to a video, How to Get Offended in 2022. This video, like, it's very funny, and I want to get something more lighthearted, and it's still relevant to my channel, obviously. Let's get into it.
I can't believe this racist bigot. I hope she gets hit by a car, ruptures her spleen, and then gets dragged for 5.5 miles before getting decapitated by a semi. Geez, what'd they say? That all the fraud BLM committed is fraudulent? I mean, that is blatantly racist against Caucasianly impaired people. Who said that? Candace Owens? I think that is absolutely amazing that you, a white person, can get offended on behalf of black people by a statement made by a black woman.
It is crazy, right? And it's going to be the same thing with not Candace Owens, Clarence Thomas. I remember when Roe v. Wade got overturned, there were white liberals here calling him the N-word. And I was like, where the pro-blacks at? I went on Twitter, commented, I said, typical white liberal, typical racist white liberal. I put that on Twitter on one, I forgot who, I think he deleted it because I couldn't find my reply anymore. But this is the type of thing that people let slide because they feel they're in their feelings. And they're really going to get mad at Clarence Thomas today soon because I think affirmative action is going to the Supreme Court right now. And everyone knows it, to me, if you're being objective here, affirmative action is a racist policy. It is. It discriminates solely on the basis of race. And if we want to hold the position that if you disproportionately affect a certain group of people based on their race is racist, then you have to concede that, hey, affirmative action is not something that we can now allow to be standing or allow to be protected in most cases. But I digress. Let's continue.
Pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah, makes me feel like an underachiever. How so? Well, I just don't know how to get offended by other people's words when they have nothing to do with me. And you know what? What? I don't even really know how to get offended by people's words when they are talking about me. Really? Yeah, it's like I just don't take it personally. Why not? I seem to be cursed with a solid sense of self that has me rooted in the truth of who I really am.
I can agree with that. Because I always said commonly in this channel that I don't identify myself with identity politics, right? I don't see myself as a black man or something. I just see myself as an individual. I'm Kenny. And I have different interests compared to other black people, right? What black people you know like to listen, like read Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Zeno, or Zeno. I always say his name weird, right? Epictetus. Like, who reads philosophy? I like to read about Stoicism, like, because I believe those concepts and those quotes and messaging really help me arrive to where I'm at today, where I don't care about the opinions of other people, right? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. That's true, right? If I realize what I have control over, my words and my actions, my output. I don't have control over the results, right? Trust the process, right? Trust the process. Because in the end of the day, you can think whoever you want of people. You're not going to be that your opinions don't directly affect their lives unless they let you, unless you give them permission to. And that's my whole thing. That's why I don't sit around worrying about racism or worrying about if people will like me or accept me. As long as I have recourse or as long as I can properly respond to where I feel I'm validated and correct. For instance, you say something wrong against me, I'm allowed to retort. I'm fine with that. But hey, I digress.
That sucks. Yeah, and therefore I don't feel insecure about other people's words, and therefore I don't react with anger and contempt. Clearly I need help. Well, I can help. You can? Yeah. I can totally teach you how to get offended about anything. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I've been feeling hopeless, like I'm doomed to a life of purpose and self-responsibility and respecting others. Wow. What do I need to do? There's 5 easy steps to get offended about anything. Step number 1 is victimize yourself. To do this, always.
And notice that it's always you doing that, right? It's like you suffer more from imagination than from reality, right? So you're like, oh my God, this is hurting me. And then when someone sits there and say, okay, point out how exactly is it hurting you? Oh, they think this way about me. Okay, but what they're doing to actually harm you and affect you? Oh, well, nothing. Just I can't stand that people think this way about me. Then you're suffering from imagination. Because any day, as a human, we're not good at perceiving things. We're only good at observing things. And someone's not doing an action that's outright or overtly racist or sexist or whatever. You can't directly just claim, oh, that's what he's doing. You have to prove motive. This is why people are innocent until proven guilty, because we're quick to be like, oh no, this is why they're doing it. We're quick to insert motive to what people are doing. We're quick to perceive motive of what people are doing, instead of looking at their actions and be like, hey, did harm or foul? Did this harm us or not? And that's what I like to focus on. I like to focus on something that people are overtly doing, not what I think they're doing. But hey, I guess it's just a different mindset. Like, and day, like I said, I'm someone who doesn't really focus particularly on identity politics. I don't like identity politics. I think identity politics are very reductive. But hey, we could agree to disagree, because a lot of people see the world through a lens of race, through a lens of gender. And hey, that's how you choose to perceive the world. But at the end of the day, I like to know the reality of a situation, not what you imagine the thing to be. That's it.
Always look for how someone is hurting you. What if they're not trying to hurt me? Doesn't matter. You'll find what you're looking for. There is nothing more powerful than being a victim. But to be a good victim, you need step number 2. What is it? Step number 2 is to make everything about you, especially when it has nothing to do with you. That's where a lot of people go wrong. Make everything about me? That sounds kind of narcissistic. That's because it is. But when you use narcissism to make yourself a victim, you won't see it. Everyone else will, but you won't see them seeing it. Plus, who cares about them? It's about you. Brilliant. Step number 3. In everything someone else.
Okay, that's crazy. Because that's what like, let's say the transgender issue, like with transgender women, they're mad that straight men, like what, 90% of the time, 98% of the time would not date them. And they were mad about that. Oh my God, why these men don't want to date us? They must be bigots. And they're not realizing that, yo, what about the other person? What does a straight man want? Possibility of having kids, an actual woman, right? That's something that straight men think about. And if you can't fulfill that requirement, then of course they're gonna filter you out of their dating pool. And you can't get mad, because that's people's rights. People are allowed to discriminate on base of who they want to be involved with or not. That's their right. You can't come here and superimpose on them what you want them to do. That's very authoritarian, like he said, very narcissistic. Now let's get into the third point.
Else says, look for the hidden treasure about how it's either oppressive or uninclusive. Oppressive or not inclusive. Got it. Let's put all this into practice. Give me an open-hearted, caring statement that you would think is impossible for someone to get offended by. I think we should do more to help the homeless. You ignorant, hateful, degenerate, ginger racist. That actually is kind of offensive. The homeless aren't homeless. You're just reducing the entirety of their being down to being homeless. That's oppressive to them, and therefore you. They're not homeless. They're people who are temporarily experiencing homelessness. Wow, there I was trying to do good, but then you stopped me by getting offended. I see how everyone is helped by that, but most...
So, like, let's say we take feels before reals. The reality is most homeless people, they're there because either they don't have any support from familia or whatever, or they overwhelmingly have a drug problem, right? And that's mainly so. They're more likely to do crime, because at the end of the day, a homeless person don't have nothing to lose. So they're more likely to risk in violent behavior. And that's what happened to my father. He got attacked by a guy who seemingly was homeless. He didn't have nothing. He's not scared to get sued, nothing, because he has nothing. He has nothing. Like, what are you gonna take from him? You sue him, you owe him $50,000. He's like, I don't got the money. Throw me in jail. That's a whole meal, three square meals. I'm good in jail. Like, who? Like, you make a more dangerous society with more homeless people. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Mostly only you. Thanks. I've practiced a lot. Step number 4. Make huge assumptions about what someone means.
Yo, that's the biggest thing I've seen with people who argue with, like, they just straw man you. They try to, like I said, they have this image of you, and then they try to project that as reality. Say, oh, so what you're saying is, like the lady from the Jordan Peterson interview, right? Yo, they just make assumptions about what you said, right? You can say that, hey, I believe I am created equal, and then they point out some disproportionate outfit. Oh, if you believe if you're created equal, then you should be fighting against systematic racism. And then you go, okay, can you point out what systematic racism is? Oh, you're trying to deny racism. No, I'm not. I'm just asking you a question about how is it actually affecting everyday black Americans, and I'm asking you to give me specifics, because I'm not going to sit here and fight ghosts and boogeymans. That's all I'm saying.
And then
Just give me the reality, not the imagination. I feel like we lived in enough imagination. Now we need to find the whole hard truth of what's actually affecting us. Because when you don't address the actual problems, you're doomed to keep repeating it. Look at the Democratic Party. Black people have been voting for them 50 years. They still haven't solved anything. Well, we're making great progress, but black people are still poor. Black women are the most educated women in America, yet their average net worth is $5. I'm just saying. If they're doing so well, and why are we still struggling economically? What's going on? Because what I realize is it's inwards. End of the day, you can bring a horse of water, but you can't make it drink. End of the day, black people need to take the opportunities that's in front of them in America, and that's really what's stopping black people from actually succeeding economically, actually taking their place in America. Is them. No outside community, no boogeyman out to get them, no white man on their neck, none of that. It's you. You and ourselves, the community as a whole, is what's holding each other back. We can't build economies because we don't want to work with each other. I'm just saying.
And tell them what they meant with the words that they said. Act like I know the meaning of their words better than they do, but that doesn't really seem logical. Oh yeah, also don't be logical or else this whole thing just falls apart. Got it. An example of making huge assumptions. Matt Walsh says, we need to protect children from irreversible genital mutilation. Now, do you know what he means with this statement? Well, seems pretty straightforward. He wants to protect children. Wrong. He means that he hates children and wants trans people to miserably suffer for eternity. He's also indicating that he would take great satisfaction in seeing the suicide rate in the trans community go up. Is that right? 100%. How can you be so certain that that's what he meant? Because I have a feeling of boiling rage inside my abdomen, and I'm completely unwilling to consider anything other than my own assumptions while I project my internal emotional state onto the world around me.
Suffer more from imagination than from reality. Hey, that's the basic frameworks of most of the arguments that I hear. Like, I'm trying to separate, okay, is this an imagination? Is this something you're conjuring up in your head? Or is this something you actually observe in reality, or you actually have some basis of actually having this opinion? This is what I try to figure out in my discussions, in the videos that I react to. I'm just trying to find out, hey, what's reality and what's imagination? That's it. And I just focus on, hey, I'm a man that lives in the world of reality. I don't care about words. We can argue definitions all day long. I'm saying, hey, I don't care what you perceive. I'm caring about what you observe. And I'm trying to make sure that we and you are observing the same thing so we have a common ground. And most of the time, when people don't want to have a common ground with you, they don't want to have an actual meaningful discussion with you. That's what I noticed. But I digress.
Have you ever talked to a trans person? No. Have you? Yeah, quite a few. In fact, I had a conversation with one last Tuesday. Excuse me? What? You talked to one on Tuesday? You mean a person who was temporarily experiencing Tuesday? Wow. When you put it that way, I realize I am basically a Nazi, aren't I? Probably worse. But step number 5, tyrannically command the person you're offended by conform their words and behaviors to meet your demands. Kind of like you're a terrorist. What about, like, their free will? Not on your watch.
It's not like an authoritarian, no? This is pure projection. Oh, that's not like this is what I'm talking about. Like, a lot of discussions, and I think in a lot of our culture as well, is that there's two different like type of people that are like trying to talk to each other. There's people who are fighting over definition of things, and there's people who are trying to talk the reality of things. right? And I kind of alluded to this earlier in like previous videos about world of words and the world of reality. People are here arguing about definitions. Oh, I don't believe in this definition. To me, this word means this. Like it's crazy. It's like everyone wants to live in their own little separate world, fantasy land, la la land. Like we don't share a common foundation. And I keep saying this stat. And there's a Pew Research study in 2020 that states that 73% of Americans do not share common facts about a certain topic. 73%. That means most times when you talk with somebody, you both don't have a common understanding of a said topic. And literally half the discussion is about you trying to find common ground with the other person. And you trying to prove who has the right of it, who knows the reality of the situation better than the other person, and what facts and evidence you're debating it. And you waste so much time just trying to establish common ground. Then by the time people are like already turned off from the discussion, it's crazy. I don't know how far as America, as a culture, actually, that we can continue going down this path, man. I don't know, man. The internet brought a lot of good things, but there's a lot of trade-offs and bad negatives that it also bring into it as well. And we have to find a way to address these issues that we're finding arise, right? A lot of people get their news. A lot of people get their information from social media as well. And we have to somehow find a common ground there. And this is why I think free speech is very important in our society. Because if people are allowed to put out what they truly feel about the world, then I think it naturally balances everyone out. But when you have a social media company trying to curate the platform to only have one view, then you wonder why Gen Z millennials are exposed to misinformation, because you're only giving them one worldview of an issue, only one side of the coin. I'm just saying, if you want to inform populace, you must give them both sides of the argument, not just one side that you think is the proper side. COVID-19 is a perfect example of this. People who question COVID-19, banned. People who didn't, continued. And then next you know, oh, we were wrong. Sorry. Now we want a pandemic amnesty. Oh, we're sorry how we treated you when we thought we had the right of the position. But that wouldn't have happened. The population wouldn't have overreacted like that if both sides were allowed to openly express their thoughts on the platform. I'm just saying.
And as you're psychologically violating them, let them feel your wrath with a ton of unchecked anger. What'll that do? It's just part of good communication that'll help them understand the beneficial point you're trying to make. If you greet them with enough emotional outrage, they'll most likely apologize and change their ways to meet your demands right away. I feel like these 5 steps will help me be a happier person who makes a more positive contribution to society. Yeah, that's basically what'll happen. But let me give you your final exam. Your job is to get offended. Are you ready? I was born ready and without a gender. Here it is. It's a nice day outside. Oh, got it. How could you do this to me? There's some people on the other side of the globe where it's nighttime, not daytime. What about them? You just want them to die because you don't think they matter. Oh, and it's nice out for those who are temporarily experiencing outside. Now you're just denying climate change and totally disregarding the carbon emissions caused by the oil and gas companies that contribute to climate-induced racism. I hope you get mauled by a grizzly bear in front of your children that you didn't abort because women's rights don't even matter to you. Well done. Yeah, it felt great. You're really a good friend for helping me out like this. You want to be my friend? Sure, why not? Well, I don't have any friends, and I've always wanted one. Why don't you have any friends? I don't know. Never really thought about it. Well, yeah, man, I'll be your friend. Man? That's what you say to me? You hateful cesspool.
Hey, that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting you to react like that, bro. But is this walking on eggshells that I feel like is really disturbing the public discourse? Like, you always feel like you have to walk on eggshells. I think people need to learn how to like control themselves and how to channel their emotions in a productive manner. Because I think when you're doing these shouting matches, you turn each other off and like, oh, fuck it, nah, I don't want to listen to you. Who cares what you have to think? I'm just living my truth, right? And then when they go down a pathway that they're like, oh my God, what happened? I don't know how I got here. Well, people try to give you different perspective, different insight, and you didn't want to take it because you know better, right?
Full of cis trash? That's not my correct pronoun. Sorry, what are your pronouns? I'm a them, there. Oh, cool, that's plural. How many of them are you? About 5. Well, all right, them. I just hope the rest of the world can learn to get as offended as well as you have, because we need more division in order to unify us. I think it's great that we don't see that's what we're doing.
How close to reality this is? I think this is very close to reality. I think this is like spot on. Good job with Awaken JP, I think his name was. I really like his videos. It brings the sarcasm kind of brings out like how factual it is, right? Because you're like, hey, I want to react emotionally and then try to condemn people that they're evil because they disagree with me, but I want to act like I'm trying to unify the country. Like, yeah, it's counterproductive. But hey, you know, you can justify anything using emotional appeal, I guess. If you like the premise of the video, give me your thoughts. I'd like to hear them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.